Thank you, Susan. Kia ora koutou, ko Darral Campbell, tauko Lanoa, ko Ototahi and Otupoti o ko Tupuna, ki te noho aki Ototahi. Good morning, everybody. Very nice to join you and great to have this opportunity to talk about what is a very important part of providing support and care for dementia and whānau. Activities are at the heart of everything we do as humans. And in dementia, living with dementia, it's often an area that doesn't get personalised. So around 2013, in post-earthquake Christchurch, where isolation was a major issue for many of us, but particularly for our people living in the community with matawariwari, we started to think about how we could develop activities that were meaningful for people. And the way that we went about that was to think about partnering with our community, that we didn't have to create opportunities. We wanted to create environments within our existing community organisations for people living with matawariwari to access and have their needs met. So we asked people with matawariwari what they wanted and how they felt about activity and meaning in their lives. And the feedback was extraordinary. People repeatedly told us that they felt their lives didn't have meaning in the same way anymore, that they didn't feel that they could contribute in the same way, that they weren't attending places or things that they had previously because they could no longer do that particular activity or function in that environment in the same way, so that they were much more isolated. And so as we developed this community program and partnership, we thought about all of those aspects in terms of the kinds of groups that we wanted to consider. And I guess one of the fundamentals of this is it's like a menu. It's not that everybody is going to like everything on the menu. It's that people have the opportunity to choose something that has meaning for them, tastes good from them, from the menu. So we'll kick into the actual presentation. Bear with us. Hopefully you can see that screen now, and we'll go to the next slide. So as I said, we started in 2013. We didn't have any resources, and that's one of the many things I've learned over the years. Don't let the lack of resources stop you trying something, because it's the trying that means once you can demonstrate that it works for people, that you're then likely to get some resource towards. So we started in 2013, and within about a year, we secured some funding from RATA, which are a South Island philanthropic trust, where we were able to research the project. And we were very lucky to be able to do that research with the wonderful Susan G as our lead researcher, and subsequently published that research in the Australian Journal of Dementia Care in around 2017. That then became an expanded toolkit that was developed with the support of what was then Southern Alliance, all of the DHBs in the South Island, Te Whataora, at a local level. Jane Large, who I have to give a shout out to, who really promoted that, and the lovely Susan who's there. So that's a resource that you'll see the link to at the end of the presentation. That's to enable other community organisations to have a basis of some tools that they might want to use should they want to go down the track that Dementia Canterbury has. We now run a range of programs across the region, and our region is quite large here in Canterbury. It's all of Canterbury up to and including Kaikoura and down to south of Ashburton and also the West Coast. So different things work in different environments is one of the many learnings. We believe that community activities for people with dementia can help break down barriers and enable people with dementia to participate in activities in the community. One of the eye-openers to me really was that so many people had stopped doing because they felt like they weren't able to do as well or in the same way. And so the ethos of this partnership is that there are no rights or wrongs within the group. People participate as little or as much as they feel able to, and that it's about not whether people remember what they did at the last group that they attended, but they remember how they feel. They remember that it was something that was meaningful, that they had fun, that it was uplifting, and that feeling lasts beyond the memory of the group. Here is the toolkit. And again, as I say, you can access that if you wish, and the information for that will be at the end of the presentation. Susan's quoted that, so I won't go over that again. We'll move on. What do activities do? You know, meaningful activities give people hope and they maximise quality of life. If all of us tomorrow didn't have access to the things that we find give us hope and maximise our quality of life, what would our quality of life become? If we stop, you know, being able to feel good about interaction, what would that do to all of us? So the programs are very much based around social connection and social stimulation, and a sense of purpose. When we started off, because we're constantly adding new groups to the menu as we can, we looked at how we would partner. This is an integral part of the whole thing, is how we partner with our community. So we looked at staff awareness within organisations that we were partnering with, which was so crucial for the success of the activity groups. What training and interaction staff needed, and how we could deliver that, and vice versa. And what were the broader benefits that the activities groups provided, being based in community environments. It's been a fantastic spin-off that it provides respite for a care partner or whānau, but also care partners can attend, or whānau can attend activities equally. And it encourages our community partners to be much more dementia friendly. They become, once they are actually thinking about the fact that people with dementia are anywhere and everywhere, that everything in that community environment needs to be talking to people with dementia equally as people without dementia. Volunteers, we couldn't do what we're doing with our community partnership without volunteers. It of course involves staff from our team and staff from our community partners, but it also involves a lot of volunteers. And the volunteers receive training, and you can see there that there's a couple of comments about, you know, what the volunteers get out of it, seeing the impact on their self-esteem and confidence. I find all of them really coming out of their shell. And I think that one at the top, which my ugly mug is covering up, says it's the most rewarding 1.5 hours of my month. That's lovely. Just to the next slide. So it's about nurturing, and it's about enjoyment, as I said before, that sense of in the moment being happy and being fulfilled, a sense of belonging. I can't tell you what a difference it has made to people to meet with others and have that social connection as part of an activity, and how people find other people that they click with and that they can then continue to have those relationships both in the group setting and outside the group setting. And it also enables people to rekindle, if you like, that self-identity, those things that have been meaningful to them, that are still there. It's just we have to find the mechanism for bringing those things to the front. So in terms of group process, you know, we really are about it being friendly, flexible and fun. Cannot underestimate the importance of fun. The photograph you're seeing there, all of the photographs that you see throughout this presentation are real people who are at the groups and who have either still are clients of our service or have been clients of our service. This lovely man, Eric, is holding a photograph of himself as a boy of about 4 or 5, and he's in a brown knitted suit. And he loved to tell the story of the fact that there was a thread loose and he pulled it and he unravelled himself and ended up in his birthday suit. I think there might have been a bit of poetic license there. Most of the groups are relatively small, and by small we mean sort of 8 to 10 people. And that's really because we find that people get lost if the group is too big, that they're not therapeutic. If the group gets too big, there's not opportunity for people to speak, or people feel a bit intimidated. The exception to that is probably something like singing. And I think our singing group has about 25 people in it. And I guess the other thing is that just from a management perspective in a community setting, it's difficult also to manage large numbers when we're in community environments. So the groups overall.
So it's a bit sad when you get get dementia and you can't do any of those things, but I do try and still play the piano, because I've made it a thing to me to go and do it at least a couple of days a week, sit down and have a wee play for a while. I'm quite lucky, my husband's very good to me and he'll go and take me wherever I want to, but I do know 1 or 2 that they just end up sitting at home doing nothing. Oh, these groups have made a fantastic difference. I would be a different person. I have been always good at communicating, but I felt as I was going downhill, and I thought I was going to end up being a little lonely lady sitting at home all the time. But the Dementia Society, every group I went to, I got so much from it. And it's really helped me, because I come home and my old brain's ticking over, and that's what you want.
So that lovely lady that you just saw is Wendy, and Wendy was able to be quite articulate about what the groups meant to her and what a difference they made in her life. In front of you now on the screen, you can see the menu, so to speak. These are the kinds of groups that we're offering currently in Canterbury, and a number of them we offer a number of times a month. And so we're going to just work you through the menu. Alzheimer's was the first group we started. We started talking about this in 2013. And at that time, our art gallery was closed because of earthquake damage. And so we actually started running Alzheimer's in the libraries, and we had large copies of works that we would use instead of the originals. Then when we were able to, we moved back into the gallery space, and we run Alzheimer's, which is essentially art appreciation for people with dementia, within the gallery space. So they're in a public gallery, the public can walk through equally, and they sit in front of an artwork and they have a narrative about the artwork that's presented by one of the guides, and then they engage in discussion. And here's the lovely Lana, who's going to tell us a little bit about Alzheimer's.
Well, first of all, I'd like to tell you how I got involved with Dementia Canterbury. It was during the earthquakes when the gallery was shut, and we were looking at different ways of engaging the public. And one of the things that we thought about, one of the groups we didn't engage with very much were seniors. So we decided, let's see what we can do. And I happened to see a documentary about MoMA, and it's Meet Me at MoMA, and that was a program for dementia. People with dementia, and I was just in an art gallery, and I was so blown away by it actually, and I thought this is something that we could do here. And so So I approached Dementia Canterbury and had a series of meetings with Darral Campbell, the director, the manager, and we sort of sat down and over coffee we talked through it and how it would work and all the practicalities, and then we decided we'd give it a go. So we did that, but before that, of course, we had to train the people who were going to be leading these art appreciation series, and so Dementia Canterbury provided us with training. So we chose volunteers, and volunteers volunteered themselves as well, who were particularly interested in working with older people. And we went along to Dementia Canterbury, where the educators and the social workers actually did virtually, I think it was almost a whole day's training with us. And then I also trained them as well in terms of presentations, type of artworks that would be suitable, and and sort of how to deal with the unexpected. But in the event, it just seems like we ended up treating the people who come along to the Alzheimer's sessions almost as normal. The only thing probably we had to do was to slow down a little bit and wait for responses.
Okay, so the next video we're going to show you is, apart from Alzheimer's, which we run a couple of times a month at Christchurch Art Gallery, we also run it at Ashburton Art Gallery. But in the art gallery, there is a therapeutic space for art making. And so we use the art gallery therapeutic space to run art making groups. And there's a natural progression if people have been coming to Alzheimer's, sometimes for a year or two, that as dementia impacts on language and Alzheimer's is a little bit more difficult to follow conversations, art making can actually be something that's a better option and a more meaningful option. So the video that you're going to see is actually in the art making room, and it's just a session where they're using autumn and leaves as the theme for the art making. One of the very popular groups is our DIY program. We currently run that in partnership with Bunnings, and we run that in the Bunnings store. They have a big DIY workshop area there. Who knew? But we do now. And we have partnered with a local men's shed who help us develop the projects as such that people are going to make. This is a very popular group with a lot of our men, but also women attend. And we've got a partnership in another part of our region, Ashburton, with the local men's shed. I think one of the lovely things about this group is that it's tangible. People go home often at the end of each session with something that they've actually made and can feel proud of. And you can see a lovely gentleman there holding up the box that he's made that is for strawberries. We partner with the Court Theatre and we hold backstage tours usually twice a year. And we also take people to shows, get some sort of discounted tickets, and so whānau and people with dementia can go along. Sometimes they'll learn how to do a grand entrance, or they'll go and visit the costumes. There is another lovely partnership with the court where we work with the youth group once a year. The youth group come in and learn a little bit about dementia, and then they interview some of our people, and by the end of that week they do a verbatim performance of an aspect of the person with dementia's life. And so our people and their whānau go along, and the court youth and their whānau go along, and it's the most wonderful, uplifting experience. So that photo there of the group is at the court when we've been to a presentation of aspects of their life story. All of those people were thrilled, really, and it's a wonderful testament often for families to the person that they love. We partner once a year with the Symphony Orchestra, and this is in the beautiful new build, I should say, piano centre in Christchurch, which is for music. And I can't again emphasise how important it makes people feel to be going into these environments, because they haven't been doing it in the way that they might have previously. So we choose to do it there rather than here, because that's where it would logically happen. This is an 8-week program where people get to experience all sorts of instruments and rhythm. You can see them down in the right-hand corner there, drumming on buckets, but they certainly get to experience all the instruments as well. It's very popular. We have waiting list for our partnership with gardening. So we have long-standing gardening groups. They varied over time. And again, one of the reasons for gardening was this this real sense that people gave us about wanting to give back, feeling like they weren't able to give back to their community, but they wanted to. So we've had a couple of community gardens that we've partnered with to do community gardening, but our longest standing relationship is with the botanical gardens, where our people go and garden and really feel like they're giving back to a place that many of them know well if they've grown up and lived in Ōtautahi. This is the guided botanical gardens tour. So it's in the botanical gardens, but it's actually a tour guide, a garden tour guide, for want of a better phrase, that takes them through the gardens on a tour, giving them a history of something that's relevant in the gardens. Could be a tree, could be a plant, it could be anything in the gardens. And this is a lovely group where quite often care partners will also walk and be involved. And I think we've got a video.
We might go to the next one though, I think, because it's the life stories, which is great too.
So Life Stories is another group that is a partnership with the libraries. We have some significant partnerships with our libraries, and 3 to 4 times a year we run a series of 7 groups each series about working with the person with matawari to develop their life story. And here we have Sally, who's going to talk a little bit about her experience.
The life story has been a real marvellous for me. That's the most special thing of all. But we went to the library and we all had we were diagnosed, we were given one person who came and sat with us. So I'd get information and some photos and things like that, and we went right through it. And then when we came to the end, we sort of we went back and we had this final session going through the book we've got, and then was a wee break, and then they had a big special day where they present us all with these books, and that's my book, my life story.
Mum did her life story and I was Mum's support person, which was the most fascinating thing, because I realised how much Mum remembered about her life growing up and living in Ashburton and all of that sort of thing, and the stories, the little pointers that they gave you for the starters would start a conversation. And of course I knew a lot of the stuff over the years, and we could remember funny things that happened and all of that sort of thing. And Mum loves the book. We actually had it made into a proper book, and it's got photos of the family, photos of all the generations in it, and she loves talking about it and showing it to people. She's so proud of it. Yeah. So those sorts of things. And the staff are so lovely, all of them. They're so wonderful, because they just get it. You don't need to worry about anything. They've dealt with it all before. It's an everyday thing to them. They don't think, they must think sometimes, goodness me, because it is hard work at times. But the staff are just so lovely. The first one that I went to at the library, they were talking about old school days, and the girls at the library dressed up in gym frocks, and it was just so lovely, because actually it took people right back. That was the trigger that actually took them back to the days when they were talking about, remember when getting the milk when it was all curdled and horrible, and all of those sorts of things that they all talked about from their school days. And the memories, I mean, I love taking Mum back to where she grew up, because she remembers who lived on the street, and so much about her life. She can just recall it in an instant, whereas something that happened yesterday or earlier today, she will have no memory of it at all.
We do a monthly group with the museum, and anybody who lives in Ōtautahi will know that our museum is actually closed for 5 years for a massive refurbishment. So we used to do it in the museum, and now we're doing it in a variety of spaces that the museum is using. And this is a very popular group, and they present a different aspect of something that's in the museum every session. Next chapter groups, we've been running these since 2014, and we run these throughout libraries in Christchurch. I think we've partnered with 3 libraries in Christchurch, 2 on the West Coast, 1 in Ashburton. And these are groups that are themed around a topic, using all of the resources that the library holds to discuss the topic. And have people engage around the topic. And so that can be poems, short stories. Most libraries have the most fantastic photographic archives, for example, that they will pull up as part of the topic. They will bring food that's part of the topic. They will dress as part of the topic, and there'll be some items that people can hand around and touch that are part of the topic. These are, again, very popular groups, and even though we're doing them in quite a range of libraries, we'd love to do them more. And most of these groups happen every fortnight within the same library. Thank you. Mind and Movement. This is a group that we run that is based on a program that came out of the UK called Love to Move. And it's dementia specific. It's morphed into something that's more of a fit in New Zealand culture. Because the Love to Move program had very set music, but it basically is around seated and rhythmic movement. It's a lot of fun. It's incredibly popular, actually, and we do run that here on site because we have a studio that we can run it in. Involves some of those ball skills that people were talking about before, a lot of rhythmic clapping, stamping, a lot of music, and a lot of laughter. It's a very popular group. Next slide. Singing for Fun. This is a partnership that we have with a local other not-for-profit called Canterbury that run choirs for people with neurological disorders. And we also partner with some music therapists who are colleagues based here in the building that we share at Braintree. Again, this is a really popular group. We have had to limit the numbers just because we can't squeeze any more into the environment to around 25 people. But again, it's a lot of fun. And as most of you will know very well, it's lovely to see people who maybe are starting to struggle with language really come into their own because they can still sing. Next slide, please. Walking groups, again, we're running a range of walking groups throughout Ōtautahi, and we'll very quickly just see if we can play this video with Lester speaking, who is a care partner.
Could choose their own walking pace, and walking along the Avon River was, I think for all of us, very therapeutic and splendid afternoon tea.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is Water Memories. This is a group based on Australian model, where it's gentle movement in a pool. We do this group currently at QE2 Pool, but we've done it in a variety of pools all around our region. Again, it's a really popular group. In that photo on the right, I just have to tell the story because it moves me every time I tell it. The man in the middle and the woman next to him are husband and wife. And when they started coming along to Water Memories, they were hugging each other and dancing in the pool because we were doing a bit of dancing in the pool. And as she said, it feels so wonderful to have my husband's arms around me again. It's a very moving statement. But again, Water Memories appeals to people that really love water but no longer go near a pool. Next slide, please. So here is our activity groups resource pamphlet that's on our website, and you can access it through that portal. And in the next slide, I think you will have the link to the toolkit. So the toolkit has a lot more information, and if anybody is out there thinking about developing community partnerships, we'd say absolutely go for it. No money changes hands. What changes hands, I guess, is information and passion and people, and that's what makes them really good. In this slide that you can see on the right, that's in the art gallery at Ashburton, with a smaller group looking at an artwork with the botanical gardens on the left. So we are very passionate about supporting other organisations and groups to consider partnering with what's already existing in the community, and providing opportunities for people with dementia to re-engage with community and with community environments, but to have their needs met within those environments. So if anybody wants to talk to us about that at any point, please feel free to be in touch.